Humanity has faced devastating plagues throughout history. The Black Death wiped out a third of the European population in just a few years. The Spanish flu claimed millions of lives in a matter of months. Smallpox terrorized civilizations for millennia. But there is a silent pandemic happening right now that doesn't destroy bodies. It annihilates something infinitely more precious, the human capacity to think. We are not talking about comfortable metaphor or exaggerated alarm to gain clicks. We are witnessing mass cognitive collapse where billions of people have lost the most basic ability that separates us from animals: rational discernment. Stupidity has ceased to be an individual accident, an isolated failure of education, to become an epidemic phenomenon, contagious and absolutely lethal to the collective consciousness. Schopenhauer warned with surgical precision, "The task is not so much to see what no one has seen, but to think what no one has yet thought about what everyone sees." However, we live in an era where no one thinks anymore. They just react, replicate, and repeat like programmed automatons. The virus of stupidity did not arrive from some external dimension. It was meticulously incubated within the very structure of modern society, nurtured by systems that profit from ignorance, and now contaminates every social space, every conversation, every collective decision. And the most frightening symptom of this pandemic: the vast majority of those infected have no idea that they are sick. The stupidity that dominates the modern world is not accidental. It did not appear overnight as an inexplicable natural phenomenon. On the contrary, it has been meticulously cultivated, carefully nurtured, and systematically expanded through social mechanisms that have transformed ignorance from a defect into a lucrative commodity. The virus of stupidity does not spread through the air or through physical contact. It infiltrates through cognitive laziness, the systematic refusal to confront uncomfortable realities, the desperate need for mental comfort at any cost. Step into a subway car and observe. Heads bowed at identical angles, fingers compulsively swiping on illuminated screens, glazed eyes absorbing disconnected fragments of information without context, without purpose, without mental digestion. This is not innocent entertainment or well-deserved rest after a hard day. It is the infection process happening in real time, brain cell by brain cell. The human mind, magnificently designed by evolution to question, analyze, synthesize, and create, has been brutally reduced to a passive organ that only consumes and ejects prefabricated opinions by corporate algorithms. Nietzsche already warned with prophetic urgency. The most dangerous thoughts are those that come most easily, and never in the history of mankind has it been so absurdly easy to have thoughts, or rather to have the complete illusion that one is thinking when in reality one is only consuming other people's thoughts packaged as one's own. The primary and most revealing symptom of the infection is instant certainty. The infected individual reads a sensationalist headline, watches 15 seconds of edited video, and comes away with unwavering convictions about matters of monumental complexity that dedicated scholars take entire decades to understand only superficially. This is the unmistakable mark of the disease, the overwhelming sensation of knowledge without the weight of rigorous study, the seductive illusion of wisdom without the painful sacrifice of deep reflection. The virus does not directly attack raw intelligence. It attacks something much more subtle and fundamental, the willingness to use it. And in a society that offers literally thousands of customized distractions every second, resisting infection requires a titanic willpower that very few still possess. Consciousness is being contaminated, not exactly by what people consume, but fundamentally by what they refuse to face. The uncomfortable silence, the agonizing doubt, the complexity that cannot be resolved in 3 minutes. The mass categorically prefers the comfortable certainty of collective stupidity to the liberating anguish of genuine thought. And this preference is not individual weakness. It is a psychological survival strategy in a world that has made thinking not only difficult, but socially dangerous. Modern media doesn't just function as a passive vector of stupidity. It's the industrial laboratory where the virus is genetically modified, its virulence is enhanced, and it's distributed on a planetary scale with terrifying efficiency. Each digital platform, each recommendation algorithm, each push notification has been meticulously designed not to inform the population, but to neurologically addict the user. The dopamine rush released in the brain with each new visual or auditory stimulus doesn't feed real knowledge. It exclusively feeds the neurochemical compulsion for more stimuli in an endless addictive spiral. The observable result is an entire humanity that pathologically confuses being connected with being informed, that unknowingly trades depth for speed, nutritious substance for empty volume. Observe clinically how the mechanism works. A complex situation involving economics, geopolitics, and history is brutally reduced to a 10-word headline designed to generate an immediate emotional reaction. This inflammatory headline generates instant outrage in the reader. Visceral outrage automatically turns into an impulsive comment full of certainties. The viral comment multiplies into massive and uncontrolled sharing, and in exactly 48 hours, tens of millions of people have developed a fervent and unwavering opinion about something they have never studied, never seriously investigated, never even read beyond the sensationalist title. Dietrich Bonhoeffer identified something absolutely crucial about this epidemic phenomenon. Stupidity is a more dangerous enemy of the good than malice. The observation is devastating because it exposes an uncomfortable truth. Corporate media has empirically discovered that stupidity generates more profit than truth, engages more users than balanced analysis, and produces more advertising revenue than any honest attempt at education. This is not conspiracy theory. It's simply the capitalist market responding rationally to what the consuming mass demonstrates it desires: confirmation of its own beliefs, not intellectual challenge. Anesthetizing entertainment, not disturbing enlightenment. The specific role of electronic screens in this process is absolutely lethal to cognition. They don't function as transparent windows to the real world. They are sophisticated digital syringes that inject carefully selected fragments of edited reality directly into the cerebral cortex. The passive viewer genuinely believes they are observing the world as it is, but they are only seeing what has been meticulously selected, strategically cropped, and professionally presented to generate a specific and predictable emotional response. And emotions, unlike rational ideas, are extremely contagious. Collective anger spreads virally. Social fear multiplies exponentially. Performative moral outrage replicates like a digital pathogen. In a few calculated clicks, a mind that biologically could question, critically analyze, and discern with precision is transformed into a passive host that only mechanically reproduces and automatically transmits the infectious content. The media doesn't need to blatantly lie or fabricate non-existent facts to effectively disseminate mass stupidity. It simply needs to systematically omit essential context, brutally simplify all inconvenient complexity, and present emotional spectacle in place of verifiable substance. The infection is complete when the public doesn't even realize that its worldview was built not by reality, but by corporate editors pursuing engagement metrics. Critical thinking did not die of natural causes. It was systematically murdered and deliberately replaced by something infinitely more dangerous for any functional society: unexamined, instantaneous opinion. We live immersed in a historical era where having a categorical position on literally any subject is considered socially more valuable than actually understanding that subject in depth. The speed of the response matters infinitely more than the quality of the underlying reasoning. And whoever hesitates to reflect, whoever ponders carefully, whoever honestly admits to not knowing is immediately perceived as weak, pathologically indecisive, socially irrelevant. Schopenhauer already foresaw with disturbing clairvoyance, the more limited the mind, the more limited its ability to perceive its own limits. And the unmistakable trademark of the modern idiot is precisely this characteristic: the neurological inability to recognize the abysmal vastness of one's own ignorance. The collapse happened because truly thinking critically fundamentally requires three resources that contemporary society not only does not value but actively punishes: substantial time, intense mental effort, and prolonged psychological discomfort. Genuinely thinking is painfully slow. It requires deliberate pauses, contemplative silences, humiliating revisions of previous conclusions. But we live immersed in a culture of immediate responses where waiting a mere 3 seconds for a response from a cell phone is psychologically unbearable for most. Genuinely thinking is exhaustingly laborious. It requires research in primary sources, meticulous comparison of multiple conflicting sources, careful analysis of contradictory evidence. But we live in a culture that generously offers 5-minute summaries on literally any topic of monumental complexity that humanity has accumulated over millennia. And genuinely thinking is deeply uncomfortable. Questioning one's most deeply held convictions generates acute existential anxiety. Publicly admitting to being completely wrong mortally wounds the fragile ego. Suspending judgment until accumulating sufficient information creates unbearable uncertainty. The seductively easy alternative is simply to uncritically adopt the opinion of the dominant group, obediently follow the socially accepted narrative, mechanically repeat exactly what everyone around is saying. But that is not thought at all. It is primitive cognitive mimicry. It is the cowardly surrender of individual consciousness to the illusory safety of the herd. The rare individual who still actually thinks has become the new contemporary heretic, not because their specific ideas are objectively dangerous, but because the very act of thinking independently fundamentally threatens the psychological stability of the mass. Publicly questioning the officially sanctioned narrative, rigorously demanding verifiable evidence, logically pointing out obvious contradictions, all of this is now treated socially as political subversion, as a personal attack, as a clear symptom of ideological extremism. The obedient collective idiot, by absolute contrast, is enthusiastically celebrated. He is perfectly predictable, easily controllable, infinitely useful. His stupidity is not a regrettable accident. It is an essential functional characteristic for a social system that fundamentally needs passive obedience, definitely not active and questioning awareness. Never in the documented history of civilization have there been so many self-proclaimed experts and simultaneously so little genuine real expertise. We live literally surrounded by individuals who have perfectly mastered the performative art of appearing competent without ever developing real, substantial competence. They discourse with impressive authority on complex macroeconomics without understanding basic high school mathematics. They pontificate eloquently on scientific methodology without ever having conducted a single controlled experiment. They theorize prolixly about historical movements without having read a single original primary document. And the most frightening aspect of this reality, they are taken absolutely seriously by millions. Dressed-up ignorance has donned an impeccable corporate suit, fluently learned impressive professional jargon, and conquered gigantic stages with a hypnotized audience. The phenomenon itself is not historically new. Charlatans have always existed in every era. But before they were a socially marginalized exception. Today, they are a socially celebrated rule. Digital platforms have radically democratized access to the public voice, but have not democratized in the slightest the wisdom needed to use it responsibly. Anyone with a minimally functional smartphone can proclaim themselves an expert in any area, accumulate hundreds of thousands of devoted followers, and profoundly influence millions of decisions. No formal study is necessary, no practical experience is necessary, absolutely nothing is necessary other than performative confidence and theatrical ability to simplify the complex into viral catchphrases. Nietzsche keenly observed, "Convictions are prisons more terrible than cells, and the experts in nothing are perpetual prisoners of their own superficial certainties, neurologically incapable of perceiving the oceanic vastness of what they do not know." They systematically confuse fragmented information with integrated knowledge and technical knowledge with existential wisdom. They have read 3 articles on popular websites and sincerely believe they master an entire field. They have watched 2 well-produced documentaries and consider themselves unquestionable authorities. The problem is not just pathetic individual ignorance, it is the entire social system that actively rewards this empty performance. Massive audiences do not migrate to those who honestly admit irreducible complexity. Loyal followers do not accompany those who frequently say, "I don't know for sure," or "The situation is too complicated to summarize." The digital attention market exclusively rewards the brutal simplification of everything. Performative, unwavering certainty, the instantaneous, definitive answer. Then organically arises an entire generation of professional communicators who consciously sacrifice inconvenient truth in the name of lucrative engagement, who cynically trade essential nuance for viral potential, who rationally prefer to be spectacularly wrong with confidence than to be discreetly correct with genuine humility. And the mass already totally infected by chronic cognitive laziness can no longer distinguish the true humble expert from the eloquent imposter. Superficially, both use intimidating technical words. Both cite impressive scientific studies. Both project the convincing appearance of knowing exactly what they are talking about. The fundamental difference is that the true expert accurately recognizes the narrow limits of their own knowledge, while the charlatan performs divine omniscience. And in a society epidemic with idiots, performance always wins over substance. The terminal stage of the pandemic doesn't simply happen when people are stupid. It happens when they actively transform stupidity into personal identity, into an ideological banner, into a celebrated moral virtue. Voluntary ignorance has completely ceased to be something to overcome with effort and has become something to celebrate with pride. Being demonstrably dumb is no longer considered a regrettable character flaw. It is performed as a courageous political act, a public declaration of tribal belonging, a trademark of admirable authenticity. Observe clinically how the mechanism works in social practice. Openly admitting that you haven't read the entire article before commenting has become a performative sign of brutal honesty. Categorically refusing established scientific information because it doesn't make intuitive sense to me has become a form of personal empowerment. Systematically rejecting all experts because they all invariably lie has become evidence of independent thinking. Stupidity has been strategically rebranded as authenticity. Voluntary ignorance has become heroic resistance to the oppressive system. And genuine critical thinking has become repugnant elitism, unbearable arrogance, privileged disconnection from the real people. Dietrich Bonhoeffer was devastatingly right when he observed, "Against stupidity, the gods themselves contend in vain." The phrase perfectly captures why. The stupid person who has developed unwavering pride in their own stupidity becomes completely immune to rational arguments, empirical evidence, and appeals to reason. They are not wrong due to a mere lack of accessible information. They are wrong by conscious ideological choice. Correcting them factually is not generously educating them, it is attacking them personally. Challenging them intellectually is not helping them grow, it is systematically oppressing them. Organized collective stupidity functions psychologically like a herd, safe, comforting, eternally validating. Within the boundaries of the tribal group, everyone agrees automatically. Everyone shares the same unwavering certainties. Everyone mechanically repeats the same simplistic slogans. And when the outside world inevitably contradicts these tribal certainties, the group does not question its premises. It strengthens defensively. External contradiction becomes irrefutable proof of conspiracy. Reasoned disagreement becomes clear evidence of bad intention. The herd closes even more hermetically, and each individual member becomes progressively more convinced that they are absolutely right, precisely because so many others enthusiastically agree with them. The performative pride in stupidity represents the stage where the cognitive virus becomes clinically incurable, because the cure necessarily requires painfully admitting that one is sick, and whoever has developed pathological pride in their own illness never seeks a remedy. Contemporary humanity has reached the critical point where being genuinely intelligent is socially suspicious, questioning honestly is tribal betrayal, and thinking differently is punishable heresy. The collective idiot is no longer a passive victim. They are an active militant of their own ignorance. There is verifiable cure for the pandemic of stupidity. It is not hidden in magical apps. It is not packaged in quick online courses. It is not condensed into miraculous three-step formulas. The cure is brutal, painful, and requires monumental sacrifices that very few are genuinely willing to make. Thinking for real physically hurts. Questioning one's deepest convictions generates devastating existential crisis. Seeking objective truth necessarily means abandoning comfortable illusions that sustain identity, and the overwhelming majority categorically prefer the familiar disease to the acute pain of treatment. The antidote necessarily begins with silence. Not the passive silence of those who simply have nothing to say, but the radically active silence of those who consciously refuse to compulsively consume information. Turn off all cell phone notifications. Completely stop scrolling the infinite screen. Sit in absolute silence for 30 minutes and clinically observe how many thoughts are actually yours and how many have been subtly implanted by corporate algorithms meticulously designed to manipulate your profitable attention. Schopenhauer clearly taught, solitude offers the intellectual man two crucial advantages. First, to be with himself, and second, not to be with others. Recovering the lost ability to think independently first requires recovering the atrophied ability to be completely alone with one's own thoughts, without paralyzing fear of emptiness, without neurotic need for constant external stimulus. The second fundamental step of the antidote is systematic radical doubt. Question absolutely everything, especially that about which you have absolutely unwavering certainty. The most dangerous convictions are invariably those that have never been rigorously examined. Methodically ask, why exactly do I believe this? Who originally taught me to think this way? What empirical evidence supports my position? What contradictory evidence exists? Am I genuinely willing to change my mind if the facts change? The overwhelming majority cannot honestly answer these questions because they have literally never asked them. They live their entire lives with inherited beliefs, never consciously chosen. The third step is to accept that truth is not democratic. Millions of people fervently believing in something does not make that something objectively true. Physical reality does not care in the slightest about popular consensus. Verifiable facts do not change because they are socially unpopular. And seeking the truth often means being completely alone, deeply misunderstood, violently attacked from all sides simultaneously. Nietzsche warned, and those who were seen dancing were judged insane by those who could not hear the music. Whoever is cured of the virus of stupidity inevitably pays the full social price: isolation, hostility, unfounded accusations. Because in a society of sick people, sanity seems like madness. Humanity categorically prefers to remain infected because the cure requires courage. And courage is precisely the first virtue that the virus systematically destroys. Accepting one's own ignorance, facing uncertainty, thinking against the crowd, this is not for the faint of heart, but it is the only real way out. The pandemic only ends when individuals decide, one by one, to recover their own minds. No one can do this for you. There is no vaccine. Either you decide to think, or you remain another infected person in the crowd of idiots who believe they are lucid. Before we say goodbye, will you continue to be a passive host of the virus, or will you have the courage to think for yourself? If this message has disturbed your mind, type in the comments, "I choose to think." Don't forget to share this content with those who need to wake up from the collective anesthesia, activate the bell, and subscribe for more uncompromising philosophy. Until the next video. The market has discovered that switched-off brains convert better than active brains. While you spent years believing that education and critical thinking were paths to success, the real economic system was moving billions in the opposite direction, funding exactly those who don't think. This isn't accidental cultural decline, it's profit optimization. Every digital platform, every attention model, every monetization structure has been tested and refined for a disturbing discovery. Ignorance is more scalable than knowledge. Nietzsche warned that convictions are prisons, but modern capitalism has turned that prison into a marketable product. Stupidity isn't winning because of a system failure. It's winning because it's the perfect fuel for an economy that needs predictable behavior, not critical awareness. And the numbers prove it. The shallower the content, the greater the reach. The emptier the promise, the higher the revenue. There is an economic elite that has understood this perfectly and is profiting from the industrial manufacturing of mediocrity. They don't want you to be dumb. They want you to remain in a state of functional stupidity, sufficient to continue consuming without questioning. And it's working on a frightening scale. Observe the flow of capital at this moment. Billions circulate towards those who master the art of appearance, while deep thinkers remain in economic invisibility. This isn't injustice, it's intentional design. Society doesn't reward substance because substance requires cognitive effort, and cognitive effort doesn't scale. Appearance, on the other hand, is instantly consumable, infinitely replicable, and completely devoid of mental friction. It's the perfect product for an era that measures success in attention metrics. Think about the last time you saw someone getting rich, producing dense and complex content. Now think about how many became millionaires doing 15-second dances. The disparity isn't a bug in the system, it's its most important feature. Human attention has become the oil of the 21st century, and stupidity is the most efficient extraction method ever invented. It requires no refinement, faces no resistance, provokes no questioning. It enters through the eye, exits through dopamine, and the cycle repeats. The mechanism is simple. Depth creates friction. Friction reduces conversion. Low conversion means lower profit, so the market optimized for the path of least resistance, and that path goes straight through superficiality. When you see someone getting rich with empty content, you're not seeing a system failure. You're seeing the system working exactly as it was designed, maximizing attention extraction while minimizing intellectual investment. Nietzsche observed that men believe in the truth of everything that is visibly believed with force. Modern society took that phrase and turned it into a business model. It doesn't matter if your message is true, it matters if it's visible. And visibility isn't achieved with depth, it's achieved with volume, repetition, and appeal to the most basic instincts. Appearance won because appearance is scalable. Content lost because content demands mental presence, and mental presence is the most scarce resource of modernity. Now observe your own life. How many decisions do you make based on appearances versus how many do you make after deep analysis? Does the answer scare you? Because you are not an exception, you are a statistic. And the statistics show that humanity is outsourcing thinking to algorithms that optimize for engagement, not for truth. A civilization that rewards those who perform intelligence, not those who possess it. And the most disturbing thing, it's working perfectly. There is a mathematical reason why stupidity is more profitable than intelligence: predictability. A person who thinks critically is a complex variable. Their decisions are influenced by multiple factors. Their consumption patterns are irregular. Their loyalty is conditional. A person who doesn't question. It's a simple equation. Stimulus A generates response B with statistical precision, and statistical precision is all the market needs to generate consistent profit. The greatest fortunes of the 21st century were not built by educating the masses. They were built by understanding and exploiting their cognitive biases. Every recommendation algorithm, every infinite feed, every notification designed to create artificial urgency. All of this operates under the premise that you won't stop to think. And that premise is correct in 94% of cases. Not because people are dumb, but because the system has been calibrated to exploit the mental shortcuts we all share. Consider the dominant business model. Capture attention, keep it as long as possible. Monetize it through ads or impulsive purchases. This model doesn't work with thinking people. Thinking people stop, question, research alternatives, delay gratification. They are terrible for conversion. The system learned this quickly and pivoted. Instead of trying to sell to thinkers, it started manufacturing non-thinkers. And manufacturing is not a metaphor, it is a documented industrial process. All viral content is optimized for cognitive bypass. Sensational headlines, thumbnails with exaggerated facial expressions, first 3 seconds with maximum emotional hook, quick cuts that prevent reflection. This is not entertainment, it is neurological engineering. Each element has been tested, refined, and implemented to ensure that your prefrontal cortex never takes control of the situation. Because the second you start thinking critically, you stop consuming automatically. And automatic consumption is where the money is. Dietrich Bonhoeffer wrote during the rise of fascism, "Stupidity is a more dangerous social disease than malice." He was looking at political propaganda. We are living commercial propaganda 24/7. The difference, what the totalitarian regimes of the 20th century did with state media, digital capitalism does with personalized algorithms. More efficient, more pervasive, more difficult to detect, and infinitely more profitable. Ignorance is not a side effect of the current economic system. It is raw material, and like any valuable commodity, the greater the demand, the more effort is invested in ensuring the supply. That's why you see heavy investment in content that doesn't educate, in platforms that don't inform, in influencers who don't think. They are not failing in their mission. They are perfectly fulfilling the objective, keeping the flow of unthinking attention feeding the profit machine. The human brain evolved to seek immediate gratification because, for 99% of our evolutionary history, immediate meant survival. Food now, sex now, safety now. The modern system has hacked this primitive circuit and built an entire economy on top of it. Each notification is a dopamine rush. Each like is instant validation. Each scroll is the promise that the next thing will be the one you really want. And you never find it because you're not supposed to find it. You're supposed to search indefinitely. Stupidity thrives in this environment because deep thinking is, by definition, delayed gratification. You invest cognitive effort now to reap understanding later. This goes against all the conditioning that modern technology is implementing in you. Your brain is being retrained in real time to reject any activity that doesn't deliver reward in the first 5 seconds. And intelligent content cannot compete with this standard, not because it is inferior, but because it operates on a different frequency. Notice what sells: instant solutions, rapid transformations, hacks that promise shortcuts to complex results. Learn this in 7 days. Get rich with this simple method, the secret no one tells you. It's all the same promise packaged differently. You can have the result without the process. And the stupidity lies in believing that complex processes have simple solutions. But the system needs you to believe that. Because the moment you understand that real growth requires time, effort, and uncertainty, you stop buying the magic solutions. The entertainment industry has perfectly understood this mechanic. That's why every production is a festival of rapid stimuli. Cuts every 3 seconds, emotional music manipulating your response, narratives that deliver climax after climax without room to breathe. It's not art and it's behavioral pharmacology. It's literally addicting you to patterns of arousal that make it impossible to tolerate anything that demands patience or reflection. And the richest are not those who resist this. They are those who exploit it in others while protecting themselves from it. Tech CEOs limit their own children's screen time while designing apps to maximize addiction in other people's children. They know exactly what they are doing. Stupidity is profitable when you are on the side that sells, not on the side that buys. And the majority of the population is definitely on the side that buys. Schopenhauer stated, "Life oscillates like a pendulum between pain and boredom." Modern capitalism has solved this problem. It has developed products that eliminate boredom without requiring effort, creating a third option: perpetual distraction. And perpetual distraction is the perfect environment for stupidity to not only survive but dominate, because critical thinking emerges from boredom, from pause, from silence. Eliminate these elements, and you eliminate the possibility of critical awareness. Mission accomplished. There was a time when merit meant something measurable: technical mastery, verifiable contribution, lasting impact. That time is over. Today, merit has been replaced by metric, and metrics measure visibility, not value. You can be the best in your field and remain unknown. You can be mediocre at everything and be a global celebrity. The difference is not in competence, it's in the ability to generate attention. And generating attention has no correlation with generating value. The transformation was subtle but devastating. The market stopped asking, "Is this good?" and started asking, "Does this go viral?" These are fundamentally different questions that lead to opposite results. Good requires qualitative judgment, domain knowledge, established standards. Viral requires only numbers, views, shares, engagement, and numbers do not distinguish between depth and superficiality. They treat deep thought and silly dances with the same statistical neutrality. The algorithm has no values. It only has correlations. Observe who is making money. It's not the experts who have spent decades developing real expertise. They are the performers who have figured out how to play the metrics game. They don't need to know, they need to appear to. They don't need to contribute, they need to appear. And the system rewards appearance with resources that should go to substance. A complete inversion of priorities where the mediocre becomes aspirational and the excellent becomes invisible. This inversion has consequences. An entire generation is being conditioned to value metrics over mastery. Children don't want to be experts in something. They want to be influencers. Not because they are superficial, but because they have correctly observed where the economic power lies. The system is literally teaching that developing real skill is an inferior strategy to developing performative skill. And when performance surpasses substance in economic return, you don't have a dysfunctional society. You have a society functioning under new values. And these values are stupid. Mediocrity has become spectacle because spectacle is scalable and merit is not. You can replicate a viral formula infinitely. You cannot replicate genius because genius is, by definition, singular. The market always prefers what can be industrialized. And stupidity is perfectly industrializable. Same triggers, same structures, same predictable results. Genuine intelligence, unpredictable, difficult to control, impossible to standardize, therefore without market value. The most disturbing thing is not that this is happening, it's that it's working. People are accepting this inversion of values without significant resistance. Because stupidity also offers something valuable, belonging. When everyone is consuming the same shallow content, you are part of the tribe. When you seek depth, you isolate yourself. And humans are social animals who prefer to belong to the stupid group than to think for themselves. Collective stupidity has become a form of social cohesion, and those who profit from it are laughing all the way to the bank. Your brain is the most valuable product of the 21st century, and you are giving it away for free. Every second of attention, every emotional reaction, every pattern of behavior, all of this is captured, quantified, and sold, not as anonymous data, but as a detailed psychological profile that allows you to predict and manipulate your future decisions. Stupidity is not only tolerated in this model, it is essential, because brains that think critically are bad for the business of predicting behavior. The less you reflect, the more you become a mathematical function. The entire digital infrastructure was designed to reduce you to a set of conditioned responses, algorithmic feed that understands your biases better than you do. Recommendations that anticipate your desires before you consciously formulate them. Interfaces that remove any friction between impulse and action. This is not convenience, it is cognitive domestication. They are literally training you not to think, just to react. And it works because it operates below the level of consciousness. You don't realize you're being conditioned because the conditioning happens through micro-interactions. The automatic scroll, the autoplay you don't turn off, the notification you can't resist. Each one seems insignificant. Accumulated over months and years, they completely reshape how your brain processes information. You go from active agent to passive receiver, and passive receivers are extremely profitable. The industrial manufacture of stupidity happens through documented techniques. Information overload that prevents deep processing, emotionally charged content that bypasses rational thought, fragmentation of attention that makes sustained focus impossible, instant social validation that replaces independent judgment. Each element has been tested in the laboratory, refined with data from billions of users, implemented on a global scale. You are living in the largest behavioral control experiment ever conducted, and the result is predictable. Entire populations losing the ability to prolonged attention, critical thinking, and cognitive autonomy. The economic model is perfect. It captures your attention with free content, sells that attention to advertisers, uses the profit to develop even more effective capture methods. It's a positive feedback loop, where each iteration makes you easier to manipulate. And the diabolical beauty of the system is that you pay in currency you don't miss, your seconds of life and your ability to think freely. When you finally realize what you've lost, you've already been recycled as a mass product. Nietzsche questioned, is man merely a mistake of gods, or God merely a mistake of man? The modern version of this question is stupidity a bug of the human condition, or a feature exploited by digital capitalism? The answer matters less than the consequence. Billions of brains being systematically prevented from reaching their potential because thinking brains are a threat to the business model. And whoever controls the business model is accumulating power and wealth on a scale unprecedented in human history. The price of your distraction is not just economic, it's existential. Every hour wasted on content designed to turn off your brain is an hour you don't spend developing genuine understanding of the world. And genuine understanding is the only thing that could free you from the system that exploits you. That's why the system invests heavily in ensuring you never reach that understanding. Stupidity is not an accident. It's a strategy of domination. And it's working better than any dictatorship ever dreamed of. The elite doesn't need to actively conspire to keep the masses stupid. The system does it automatically. Every incentive mechanism is calibrated to reward ignorance and punish critical thinking. People who question are labeled as pessimistic, complicated, boring. People who passively accept are considered positive, collaborative, easy to deal with. The social pressure for cognitive conformity is immense and constant. And cognitive conformity is just another name for collective stupidity. The circle works like this. Media produces stupid content because it's profitable. The public consumes it because it has been conditioned to seek immediate gratification. Consumption validates the model. Investment flows into more of the same. Intelligent alternatives cannot compete economically. They disappear or adapt to the dominant pattern. Result, a monoculture of mediocrity where exceptions are statistically irrelevant, and each cycle reinforces the previous one, making the system more resilient and more difficult to break. True thinkers are systematically marginalized, not by direct censorship, but by algorithmic invisibility. Their content doesn't rank, doesn't go viral, doesn't generate enough revenue to sustain continuous production. Meanwhile, creators of empty content thrive because their videos check all the boxes of the algorithm. High retention, low cognitive friction, strong emotional trigger, replicable format. The system is not actively choosing against intelligence. It is simply optimizing for metrics that favor stupidity. The result is the same. And the most insidious thing, the entertained masses think they are free. They have access to endless entertainment options, can choose from thousands of creators, feel they exercise autonomy. But all options lead to the same place: passive consumption that does not challenge, does not transform, does not liberate. It's an illusion of choice within a pre-selected menu, like offering the prisoner the freedom to choose the color of his own chain. The economic elite doesn't need to be intelligent, it just needs to be smarter than average. And when the average is being systematically pushed down, being elite requires less and less real competence. This creates a ruling class that is not composed of geniuses exploiting idiots, but of mediocre people, exploiting other mediocre people who have been purposefully kept less informed. It's an aristocracy of relative stupidity, where the least ignorant rule the most ignorant. And everyone thinks this is meritocracy. The silencing of thinkers doesn't happen through violence or obvious censorship. It happens through noise. So much useless information being produced that genuine signals get lost in the noise. When everyone can speak, but only stupid voices are amplified, you have the illusion of freedom of expression without its social benefit. Important ideas continue to exist. They just never reach the critical mass needed to generate change. They remain confined to irrelevant bubbles, while the mainstream continues its triumphal march towards total mediocrity. Schopenhauer observed, "The more limited a man's knowledge, the more he considers himself omnipotent." Modern society has taken this principle and built an entire economy on top of it. It sells certainty to those who should be in doubt. It transforms uninformed opinion into a marketable commodity. And it generously rewards those who sell unquestionable confidence to masses who should be questioning everything. A civilization that confuses arrogance with authority and superficial knowledge with profound wisdom. The addiction is complete. A system that profits from stupidity invests in the production of more stupidity. Stupid masses consume more of what keeps them stupid. The economic elite extracts value from both sides of the transaction. And anyone who points this out is quickly neutralized, either by algorithmic invisibility or by social labeling as a conspirator, elitist, pessimist. The system doesn't need to eliminate dissent. It just needs to make it economically unviable and socially costly. And it's doing it with brutal efficiency. Before we say goodbye, are you going to continue feeding the system that profits from your ignorance? Or are you going to start reclaiming your cognitive autonomy? If this message touched something deep within you, type in the comments, "I choose to think." Don't forget to share this content with those who need to wake up from this matrix of mediocrity. Activate the bell and subscribe for more content that challenges automatic thinking. See you in the next video.